Hey guys, Anime Gypsy here with another Boruto review. And as usual, Boruto, the anime, is filled with characterization. Let me emphasize this characterization in Boruto is basically the bread and butter of this series. It's what makes this series very successful in my perspective because you have characters that get so much characterization that surpasses all of the characterization they have gotten in the entirety of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. A prime example would be Hanabi, would be Udan, would be the Konohamaru trio. Those guys have gotten so much characterization as of late, and we also get characterization to characters in the old Konoha 11 like Shino that really does expand our understanding of how those folk think as they grow up and how they've matured and their interests. And this chapter is no exception. The strong suit of this chapter is characterization. There are 5 parts of in terms of characterization. There are 4 in terms of story progression, and there is 3 in terms of world building. Now, I'll start with world building, and then I'll move to story progression, and then I will jump into characterization. Now, world building is simple. The things that we got that we haven't really that we haven't really been introduced to before in the Naruto verse are animal species that are unique to the Naruto verse or the Boruto verse, whatever preference you'd prefer me to use. Now we get 3 new species that are worth mentioning. The pesto hare, which there's a bit of a distinction between the male and the female, and the female is seen as being more protective, more dominant, which is the case in a lot of species in the wild, such as the lion. Now the second is the miniature monkey. Yes, very creative name for all the editors that came up with it. I'm very proud, and those guys should take a medal for creativity. Miniature monkey. That's a wonderful name for a species. I'm sure a lot of taxologists, I think those are the guys in charge of classifying animals, and a lot of biologists are really impressed. They should definitely take notes on how editors in Shonen Jump really do name their animals. Now, the third species is the giant maimed wolf, and out of the 3, this one's my favorite. It's my favorite because it sounds like something that might actually exist. It sounds like a name of an animal that might actually exist. It sounds like a prehistoric animal that died out during the Ice Age because us humans just killed it, like the mammoth. That's just what it sounds like. But apparently the humans in the Naruto/Boruto verse are more capable of preserving their animals than us. Such a surprise. What did we ever do in the world to create such mass extinction events? Evolution. Yeah. So, joking aside, let's move on to story progression. Now, in terms of story progression, we have 4 bits in story progression. The first bit, the first scene really doesn't count. It's basically Tsureme talking to Boruto, and you get a little bit of the hints of, maybe Tsureme Boruto, type match at the very end. Maybe that type of ship is more legit now, so to speak. Maybe. And then you have the actual 4 points in story progression. I don't really count that because we really didn't get that much information out of this bit, so I don't really consider it a point in story progression. But basically, the 4 points are getting a mission, Sai talking to Hanabi, the actual mission, and then them talking about the Chunin exams. 4 very simple bits of story progression. Now, the first bit in story progression is just the girls and having an understanding that the team dynamic, Team 15, hashtag Team Estrogen. Yes, Team Estrogen has a very strong dynamic. They talk to one another. They like to joke around. They like to have fun, but they're very well bonded. And that's the type of thing we're getting in the first bit while they're getting the mission. And you start getting points in characterization, which I will delve deep in once we reach characterization. But for now, we just have an understanding in that first bit in terms of what they're going to do, which is the mission, and they just got a mission, and also the fact that they're very well connected. Now, the second bit after they get the mission, actually no, before that, I want to talk about that poor girl working at the registrar's office. I'm just going to call it the registrar's office, registrar's register office. I'm just going to call it the register office, the office where you get the missions, the office where you know what your assignments are. It's basically where you get your homework, so to speak. Now, that poor girl had to deal with a bunch of stuck-up genin, like Shikamaru. I have to say Shikamaru because that Shikidai scene was just so reminiscent. It was like, oh, what a drag. Mendukse, it's like, Shikamaru, we have missed you. So she has to deal with miniature Shikamaru, she has to deal with Boruto, and my perspective, Boruto might be more annoying than Naruto, because Boruto is smart and annoying. Naruto was stupid and annoying. That's an important distinction. Boruto is trickier than Naruto, which is something I'm going to get to later. But okay, so you have those and so on and so forth. And then you have Team 15 for the first time, like, hey, yay, we have a mission. And she's like, aw, finally, I feel like I have worth now. And that made my day. That was a pretty cool scene. I'm sure we could all relate if we've worked in Walmart and we've had a line of, terrible customers, and then this one guy with a smile on his face just makes your day. You know that type of guy that just jokes around with you when you're on your job and really does make your day, make you feel like, you belong in that job. So this is something we could relate to, and it's something that, it's pretty nice. Now, the third part in that's getting the mission. The second part in story progression is Sai talking to Hanabi. And this is where you get the understanding that the Jozu Tenno, the seal, is still existent within Sumire. And this is something that really is important in terms of story progression, because how is that going to work? So it's not just the summoning that she has the seal that sucks chakra as well. So how is that going to work later on? How is that going to be important? Obviously she's going to master that, but what are the implications of that seal? Are there any drawbacks to overusing it? What does that mean? And it's something we don't get an explanation for, but hopefully we will get an explanation for that in the future. We also get an understanding of a dynamic between Hanabi and Sai, and I'm not saying Sai is into Hanabi in a romantic way, but there's obviously a relationship there that I will get to in the characterization section. But the third section in story progression is the actual mission. And the actual mission, as you would expect, goes a little bit like this. You start catching animals, a bit of drama here, a bit of drama there, stuff I'll get into more in the characterization section. But basically, we get, girl drama. I don't want to call it girl drama, but basically drama. We get drama off of very pathetic things that really aren't worth arguing about and aren't worth making a fuss. But we nonetheless get an argument that shouldn't have really been there. And we also get, in my perspective, a lot of characterization, which again, characterization section. And also we understand more about the dynamic of the team, we understand more of the abilities of each individual and limitations to said abilities, especially with Wasabi and the cat form. There is some serious stamina issues there, because she's only transformed into the cat form for a few seconds while chasing the miniature monkey, again, genius name, and she's out of energy. Like that. It's like, what's going on? So, bit of drama, bit of stuff here, bit of stuff there, but eventually they finish the mission, and they just wreck, and I mean this in all sense of the world, where they wreck a giant maimed wolf, or the giant maimed wolf. And it's pretty nice seeing teamwork of that caliber. We also have an understanding that, where they rank, which is mid-tier Genin, in my perspective. That team is mid-tier Genin. Average. Just pure average. Pretty nice, pretty average. Now, we get the fourth part of the story progression, which is basically them talking about the tuning exam. And here I'm like, okay, are we gonna get some juicy info? Are we gonna have some information on other people that are gonna, like, I was thinking that we might get a tease here and there from for people that we haven't seen in the movie that are also going to participate in the tuning exam. I thought we were going to get something like that, and I also thought we were going to get a scene where Namida, Wasabi, and Tsureme visit Hokage Naruto, just like the other team visited Hokage Naruto and were all moved to tears. But we didn't get that, even though I think that would have been amazing. I wanted to see Tsureme in front of her future father-in-law. That would be amazing. Wouldn't you agree? Obviously, I'm joking, but still, I really wanted them to get the Naruto treatment with the "you guys tried your best, I was a failure too." I was also considered. This is the thing. I thought we were going to end with a scene like this where Surume's talking to Naruto, and Naruto's going to be like, "Yeah, I was at one point viewed to be a danger to the village as well." With the Jinchuriki thing, obviously won't mention being a Jinchuriki because apparently it's top secret information. But actually, no, it's not at that point of time. But basically, he's probably gonna explain, or he would have explained, I used to be dangerous to the village. Don't carry the burden yourself. Like, there are friends that could help you with this. Basically, give the Itachi speech that he gave to Naruto to Tsureme, because Tsureme, in my perspective, she's good. But I think a lot of times she puts the blame on herself, and maybe she's going to have a Naruto moment where she's like, I need to do this myself. But who knows? Who knows? Now, characterization. The biggie. The biggie. Hanabi. First of all, this episode is very important when it comes to Hanabi, because Hanabi has not been in many episodes in the context of, in a full context. And what I mean by full context, I mean she's not just in the background, but she's actually a participating member of the episode that actually has relevance. Now, this is only the second episode in which we see her like that. I believe it's the second or third. It's the third. It's the third episode we've seen her like that. And this is the first time we have seen her as a captain, as a Jonin instructor. And what we realize is, just like her as an aunt, she is very trusting. She is very trusting of the team. She understands their abilities. She's the type of leader that would, step back, look at the situation without her, and then interact, then give her input, with a full understanding of her subject's abilities, in this case, Team 15, hashtag Team Estrogen, basically. Now, she's that type of leader. We've seen that when she said you guys could deal with this yourselves, and how she basically stayed up back in the trees when they were fighting the giant maimed wolf, and it worked out. It's a significant part of her character. This is how she is as captain. She's not lax. I mean, some people might misunderstand and say, "Oh, she's a lax captain. She's not a good leader." But no, that's not the case. She is trusting, and she wants to see the situation without her, so she could correct said situation if it got bad. Because if you stay with a team, you don't necessarily know what the team dynamic would be like without you. So if you seclude yourself from the situation, but observe it like she did, she's actually displaying signs of leadership, in my personal perspective. Because you have to understand how the team works without you, in order for you to lead it forward, and in order for you to push the team in a correct direction. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Now, there seems to be a situation between her and Sai. And no, it is not romantic. Sai is married to Ino, and there was no semblance of romance between them at all in that chapter. But the relationship between the two seems to be one of master and student. That's what I'm able to gather from this situation. That Hanabi views Sai as someone above her, possibly a teacher, who knows, because we don't know what the team was that Sai led as a Jonin instructor, if he had in the past. Maybe she was a instructee under Sai. Who knows? Maybe she spent time in the Anbu, and that's how she knows Sai. Maybe there is a entire realm of possibility when it comes to their relationship, but obviously they are no strangers to one another. They know one another, and they seem to have a sort of work peer type relationship. And that is important moving on, that we know that those characters work together well. Potential jealousy in the future, considering Ino, I don't think so. That's never been, in my perspective, the strong suit in Naruto, the jealousy card, unless you're talking about Karin, but then that's a different story. Well, it's the same story, but you get what I mean. Now, okay, give me a sec. The notes. Yeah, close relationship, trusting, yeah. Okay, second up is Sureme. And before I get into this, I'm not sure if you guys realize, but I think Sureme grew her hair a bit. I'm not a real stickler on appearance, but I like me some long hair, and that's some long hair. It makes her, in my perspective, look more beautiful, not in a sexual sense. She's a kid, no. But when I say beautiful, I mean look more like a Disney, like, as much as I hate saying that, the kawaii type cuteness, I think makes her look a bit more cute. And yeah, that's basically what I mean. Now, in terms of characterization, that could be considered characterization, but that's not what I mean. But in terms of characterization, Sureme as a character, how should I say this? She has some trust issues. She doesn't know. It's fair considering her backstory. It's fair considering the fact that her father was a Roots spy. It's fair. Looking at her background, trusting people isn't something that she innately could do. She's not Boruto. She's not sheltered. I mean, Boruto. If you look at Boruto from that perspective, Boruto is a sheltered, spoiled brat. That's what he is. I don't care how much hate I might get, but when it comes down to it, that's Boruto. She doesn't have the privilege of trusting people like Boruto does. She doesn't have the privilege of trusting people like Sarada does. She doesn't have the privilege of trusting... Well, Sarada, different story because she had some trust issues with her mom and dad, but those were resolved. But you get the point. She doesn't have the privilege that most kids in her class do when it comes to living in that type of household where you could trust people like this, that you could trust your team. She didn't necessarily have that. She loved them, but she didn't know whether she could trust them. And love and trust are two entirely different things. They are two entirely different things. And she has trust issues. And thankfully, this episode, those trust issues get resolved. But nevertheless, this is part of the characterization of Sureme, and it is very important moving on. Because it shows you where she started and where she is going, basically. Now... Genzu, big, okay, so third is Wasabi. In Team Estrogen, hashtag Team Estrogen, there is a small, minute amount of testosterone. That testosterone is Wasabi Izuno. You're like, no, she's a girl, man. She's a missus or a miss. Yeah, she's a miss. But she's a tom miss. She's a tomboy. Yeah. I like Wasabi for her personality. We don't see many tomboys in Naruto. We don't. We legit don't. We see traps. We see traps! Remember Haku? That was a trap. We've seen traps. We haven't seen that many tomboys in Naruto or Boruto. This is, I think, the first. Or one of the first. Especially when you're considering it from the protagonist standpoint and not the antagonist standpoint, because one of the Sound 5, I believe, was a tomboy, but that's a different story for a different day. Izuno is someone who is hasty, which comes with being a tomboy. She wants to do everything herself. She's very competitive. She very sportsy, very hands-on. That's what I'm getting. That's the vibe I'm getting from her. everything that's going on. Now, if you see the dynamic between her and Namida, the reason it's like this is because Wasabi is a tomboy that really isn't that emotional, and Namida is overly emotional. And when Wasabi says something, she doesn't necessarily mean it in an aggressive way, but since Namida is overly sensitive, she perceives that sort of stuff in an aggressive way. Like if you go up to a guy and be like, "Hey, dude, why didn't you stop me from doing this? Why didn't you protect like that sort of thing?" I think the issue here is that one is overly sensitive, the other one isn't sensitive in the same manner because she's a tomboy. She's not overly, that sort of thing. She's like, "Hey, in the moment, right now, I have to deal with this. I don't have time for whining. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's go." That's Wasabi. Namida is a different story. Now, let's move on to a different aspect of characterization within within Wasabi's character. That is stamina. Apparently, she has stamina issues. We see that when she's chasing the monkey down. What was it, like 10, 20 seconds and she was done? Like cat form, 10, 20 seconds chasing the monkey, kaput, done? Not even a minute? You serious? You serious? No. Nah, that is disappointing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because she hadn't eaten. And since she hadn't eaten, she didn't have that much energy, thus expired fast. Maybe. Now, there's also another question when it comes to abilities and Wasabi. Does she have different forms? And the reason I'm saying this is because the glow in her cat form was different the first time than it was the second time. The first time, I believe it was either green or blue, the aura around her. The second time, it was like crimson-ish yellow, and there was a little bit of gray in there. It was like a weird variety of colors. And maybe different cat forms translate to different abilities, like sensing things through the nose, through smelling, speed, force, that sort of thing. Maybe, who knows? But this is something I'm predicting as of now, that she may have different cat forms. Who knows? Now, Namida. Namida is overly sensitive, overly shy, and this is something, again, they argue over the smallest things due to the difference between them, and opposites attract. And let me say something right now. I smell a romance brewing. I'm calling it right now. I've been hesitant on calling shippings, but I'm positive on this one. Namida and Wasabi. Yeah. The first female couple in Boruto, in the Naruto-verse, period. I'm calling that right now. They're gonna pull a Kura Asami. They're gonna do it. They are going to do it. I'm calling it right now. It's on record. It's gonna be on YouTube. I'm calling that. Approximately in the 14th of March 2018, I am calling the shipping of Namida and Wasabi. Calling that right now. Calling it. Opposites attract. Opposites do attract. And the way they're acting, I could eventually smell a romance. Calling it right now. Now, when it comes to Namida, she overthinks everything. Everything's on her. Yada, yada, yada. So that's, again, the issue of being overly sensitive. And she's also shy. We also get a better understanding of how her powers work. And her power, I think I wrote the jutsu's name down. Too hard on herself. Oh, I didn't write the name of the jutsu down. Oh, no, I did. Calling upon tears jutsu. And basically, it turns out that Namida's abilities, I guessed them wrong. And they were hinted at the graduation exam because she used her sound to knock out Anko. At first, I thought it was just a gag. I thought it was just a gag, because Anko is like levels above her. How could she take out my beloved Anko? It's like one of my favorite Naruto characters ever. Kind of bitter. Kind of bitter towards Namida. Just for that reason. Now, let's get back to this. Namida, in that sense, her abilities are half explosives, half sound based. So it's an interesting combo where basically she probably detonates explosions using her sound, explosions that she's placed previously. I'm guessing. I said that she's going to be Daedra 2.0, but probably not as strong as Daedra. She's going to be an explosions-based fighter, basically. And it's not going to be like long distance in the sense of she could shoot stuff long distance, but long distances in traps, as in planting bombs on people, yada yada yada, and using her voice, in my perspective, as a mid-range type attack. That's my guess. That's my guess on her type of fighting style, but it's just a guess because we didn't see much of her in combat. But that's my guess. Now, the last point in characterization aside, and I don't really need to reiterate what I said with Hanabi, there is some sort of connection here between him and Hanabi, whether it be sensei type relationship or she worked under him in the Anbu. There is something there. Now, I'm done with the characterization. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you liked the video, smash that like button, and comment what you thought about this video down below. If it needs improvements at all, please tell me. If you disagree with me, please tell me what you disagree with down in the comments below. Until next time, guys, this is Anime Gypsy, and I'm out. See you guys later. Bye.